G'day, everybody. Alibi Jones here. How you all doing? I am really expecting to cop some flack for this one. Nobody seems to mind when you go around wrecking demons, but when you talk about wrecking the reincarnation cycle, people get a bit upset. I'm expecting the whole Hindu community to tell me that I'm a terrible person, um, and forget all the work we've just done. But you know, that's how fickle people can be sometimes. Let's see how this goes. Now, um, the rest of this video is actually going to be about why. What's wrong with the reincarnation cycle? Why is it fundamentally anti-human? And who set it up? But, this stuff's not covered in Hinduism where we all got this big idea. And, karma is just something they use against us. But, let's kick off the drama. I'll see you soon.
I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
So, what's my beef with the reincarnation cycle? And there's a few different layers to it. There's a few different levels of understanding that I'll read out for you, really. And the first one is, it's a really, really simple premise, right? That if you hurt somebody's feelings, then you have to come back and repair that. If you cause pain to somebody, then then it's the responsible thing to do to return and live another life so you repair that. But there's two really big problems with this, right? The first one is that you can't live a life without hurting more people's feelings. It's just not feasible to go through the entire life without hurting people's feelings. People love for their feelings to be hurt. They love to get upset. They love to have something to be angry about. And sooner or later, you're going to cop that. That's just a fact of life. There's not much you can do about that. But the real giveaway is that they wipe your mind. You don't remember this. And it's kind of the most ridiculous thing that you could possibly imagine, to make somebody go through all of the drama, all the rigmarole of living a life so that they can fix one problem, and then you don't tell them what it is. You just say, good luck. I hope you figure it out. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you were designing a system to make everybody happy and to repair all wounds, it would not include a mind wipe. You would remember your previous incarnations. It's really that simple. And that's layer one. And everybody talks about resolving karma and that what happens after you resolve all your karma. Nobody talks about the opposite state, in which you have accrued so much karma, or you have accrued so much debt, there's no possible way you can pay it off. Everybody spends their time thinking and talking about what happens when you pay off your karmic debts, but nobody talks about when you drown in your karmic debts, when your karmic debts are so big that you can never, ever pay them off. And, and this happens, it sort of starts to snowball because, with your karma, you bump into people who you've had a bad experience with. You repeat that bad experience because you don't remember that you've got to make it good. And then you go through this train of events where it's conflict, combat, victimhood, aggression, and this becomes the personality of the person. And they just fight their way through life. And in doing that, they're just creating more and more and more and more karma. And it comes to a point where your debts are so extreme, there's no chance that you'll pay them all off. And worse still, like just you being you, and operating the way you operate now that you've been so abused over so many lifetimes, you're like a feral cornered rat. It's tough. It's tough. And my heart goes out to those people who are living that. Because at the end of the line, once you get to the reincarnation center, they do look at how much karma you've accrued and perhaps you'll never get out of it. And when that happens, you exit the reincarnation cycle. Well, who's talking about that? Who's ever heard of that? Nobody's talking about that one. Because if you sink low enough, you mess up the system for everybody else. You are extracted. And when you're extracted, what are you extracted to? Where do you go? And this is the ugly part. You see, when you do have a life that's full and complete of fear and combat and conflict and victimhood and victimizing and all of the drama, what this looks like on the astral plane is your soul is then encapsulated in fear. It's like 360-degree, all angles covered fear. And everything that comes out of that soul goes through that filter of fear, which it just so happens is incredibly convenient for demonkind, because your soul's energy then gets turned into something they can use. And when they pull you out of the reincarnation cycle, what do? They stick you on the shelf like a battery. That's right. They trap you for eternity to use as a fuel source for them. And that's how demonkind always regarded humanity, no other way. And there is an interpretation, which I'm sure is going to upset some Hindus here. The reincarnation cycle is not designed for a positive exit. Like you never pay off all your karma. What it does do is it gives you a negative exit, which leads into a demonic trap. And you can understand the entire thing as a demonic trap if those are the only two outcomes. You either go up or down through the reincarnation cycle. You go low enough, that's it. Your soul's journey ends forever as a demon's plaything. Not pretty, is it? Not pretty. But it gets worse. You see, our astral projection teams have spent a lot of flight time exploring this arena. And when you go through the reincarnation cycle, it's deception on deception on deception. You know, when most people talk about a near-death experience, they talk about going up a tunnel and being met at the top of the tunnel. Now, who you're met by depends on your religion. So if you're a Christian, you get met by by Jesus or Mary or whoever you would expect. Same with Muslims, same with Hindus, same with everybody, whoever they expect to meet there. Now, they do have a protocol for each religion. And for guys like us who are religious oddities, who aren't following a major religion, we get ejected from this cycle. And I'll explain why in a minute. But the first people you meet, we've sent team after team to look at this. And the beings who you meet are all the same, no matter which religion you're part of. What they're doing is they're reaching into your mind, taking what you expect and wearing it like a cloak. So if you're expecting to see your parents in the reincarnation cycle, bada bing, bada boom, there they are. It's a deception, which isn't pretty. But the real meat and potatoes of this facility, and it is an astral facility that processes lots and lots of souls. And they take you into a room and they put you through a life review. Cool. I mean, that, maybe that's kind of normal, that's kind of expected. But what is the key metric that they're testing? What are they looking for? And here's the ugly part. They go through your whole life and they figure out not where you were your most proud or wonderful or generous or kind or whatever it was that they're looking, that we expect them to look for. What they're looking for is the thing you feel most guilty about. And just like a Jerry Springer backstage fluffer for those guys, they wind you up in the guilt. those guys will rile you up and explain to you just how much damage and pain you caused so that your guilt reaches its maximum. And when they do that, when your guilt reaches its tippity top level, when you're right up to here with guilt, that's when they suggest to you, you can make it better. You should go back to Earth. And they line you up for a new body and set you up to do all that again. There's more technical stuff, and they have a technical department to align your soul with a body that will connect with the other person, that will create that conflict again, and hopefully you'll do it better. And so the point of the reincarnation cycle is not really to objectively measure the quality of your life or the quality of your personality. It's here to measure how much guilt they can lay on you to make you go through the ride again, in which you will definitely create more karma than you resolve. Or if you're not doing tens of thousands of hours of meditation like us freaks, then chances are you are going to come out deeper in debt through a lifetime, which is what the people running this want. Because they want to turn you into a battery. But like all things, they need your permission. And this reincarnation cycle is just a methodology to deliver that. It's that ugly. The typical response to this is people talk about lessons. You come here to learn life lessons. And all that one gets me. And I always throw back at them this story. I say, all right, so let's say I have some lessons to learn and I go out at night and I sell my body on the corner for, for whatever I get for it, because I think this one's a bit old and wrinkly. And I'm going to learn some lessons. Like, I'm going to put myself in some situations where I discover things that I wouldn't otherwise discover. There's going to be original knowledge here, right? But my question to people who talk about learning life lessons is, what is the value of that information? What is the point? Why would I want to learn that? How useful will it be in the time to come? In the afterlife, I'll talk about that and go, what was I thinking? But when people talk about life lessons, they're talking about difficult situations. They're trying to whitewash some ugly things that have happened to them. And geez, man, I never hear an answer. And if you're in the comments, I want to hear, what is the value of that life lesson? What is the point? Why do we want to learn that? Why is that going to be useful? If you've got an answer, put it in the comments, because I'm dying to hear a coherent response on that topic. And so these painful setups, these agreements that these souls make to have a clash or to go through a difficult time together in the physical body, what's the point of all this? Like, why is pain the outcome that you want? Unless you're a demon, unless it's demons setting this up. And when I talk about what happens at the bottom end of the reincarnation cycle, when your karmic debts become too high, yes, that's when it really works for them and nobody else. And the heroes who do make it out of the reincarnation cycle, there's probably a list of names somewhere of people who actually made it. The last and final point that I want to make about this being a dud system is the mess that's going on in the soul realm. Oh my God. These souls are the ones who escaped the reincarnation facility. But the whole soul realm is about trapping souls here. There is an entire cage around the earth on a specific frequency to not allow souls to exit it. And it's full of tens of billions of souls who are, because they're not going through the reincarnation cycle, because they're not going through those agreements, they are just abandoned into this arena. And they're causing a lot of trouble, because I think of them like refugees. It's not really their fault that they're there, but nobody really wants them. And, they're a strain on resources. because what those refugee souls are doing is they're floating around and looking at souls who are connected up in the body from the 5D to the 5D soul, 4D spirit, where they connect to the higher self. Now that, I call it a socket, but it's where the soul connects to the body through that connection, that socket. And that socket is kind of like a motorbike. It's a ride for one person. It's designed to carry one person. But you've got all these refugee souls who are jumping on top and trying to get a little bit of life, or trying to experience a little bit of life, because there's nothing going on in the soul realm. That's the only thing that's happening. And so those sockets, those souls, those motorbikes, it looks, there's like 15 different souls trying to get a ride on it, and it looks like a total clown show. And if you, just like everybody else, are confused about what your life purpose is, there's your answer. It's not because you're not living one soul's experience. There's 15 of them trying to inject their goals, aims, and objectives through your body and abusing your soul in the process. Now, it's not really that, like I said, with refugees, it's not really their fault, but they're raiding your garden because they're hungry. It's not an ideal situation, but demonkind, who runs this planet, or who has been running this planet, isn't going to fix it, because the more they can discombobulate the Earth human experience, the more it suits them, the better it is for them. So they're not going to fix it. They're not going to change anything about it. It kind of suits them. But the insidious thing about it is that, well, there's two insidious things here. One is that some of those souls are fabricated. Some of those souls are mechanical, artificial, or cybernetics, probably a better word. And some of those cybernetic soul constructs are attaching themselves to organic souls and making these ugly, ugly hybrids. They're trying to capture them that way too. It's not a very successful program, but it is having some success, which is yet another problem for our team to fix. And please help us out. If you weren't really big into the combat operations we've been running about against demonkind, but you're a competent astral projector, now would be the time to join us, because not only are we going to fix the reincarnation cycle, the next thing we're going to do is work with ley lines. There are these pillars that hold from the earth, that hold this net, this trap structure in place. And those pillars are ugly karma. They're manufacturing ugly karma. So when these pillars, like some of them are for betrayal, some of them are for jealousy, some of them for anger, for sadness, for despair, what have you, right? Each of them is themed a little bit differently, and there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of them dotted around the earth. And they're creating karma, which some of these refugee souls need to resolve for themselves, and then they're injecting it into living people. And what that means is people are living out more karma than they are supposed to. They're creating or importing karma into the bodies, which just creates more pain for everybody, which is what demonkind feeds off. It's the fertilizer for their human garden, for their human farm, their loosh farm. We haven't figured out how to resolve those yet, or how to destroy them, but, you know, this is the soul realm that we're working with. And so our souls are in deep, 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 deep trouble. They're in a lot of pain. We have little to no contact with them. We're aware of the concept, but that's about as far as common knowledge goes. And, you know, I've been interviewing souls, and some, like they say to me, I asked them, what's the number of life experiences that you're here to feel? And the answer was, usually 3 or 4. We've got 3 or 4 questions we want to answer. And how many experiences do you actually have? And the answer is 26. This just tells me that there's something fundamentally wrong with our matrix. And this soul realm that I'm discussing is where they inject a lot of those problems, where where all of the extra misery that is not native to the human experience is injected and created so they can create as much mess and drama as they can get away with. But, you know, that's who they are and that's what they're about. I'm thinking I might do a live face-to-face and answer questions about this and talk about it with the public, because we're all affected by the reincarnation cycle. The metric as to whether or not I will do that is how sober are the comments that come through the YouTube comment section. If I get a lot of ranting and a lot of screaming, then you know, I'm not sure I'm not sure I want to meet people on this one. However, if you have a genuine question and a legitimate point to make, and please don't just write a book of Hindu scripture to me. Like, I know it. I've read the stuff. I know what's going on. The theology is not strange, original, or interesting to me. You don't need to re-educate me in the comments, but please let that conversation begin, because if you can rebut any or hopefully all of the points I've made, then we've got something to talk about. But if you want to support us in solving problems that have been going on Earth forever, then, you know, your support would also be very, very welcome in the comments. Yeah, look, my love to you all. May the force be with you. Like and subscribe to the damn channel. Bye for now.
I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.